Alright guys, this is a long playing review for Dick Tracy on the Amstrad GX4000, released by Titus in 1991. And we reviewed the Amstrad CPC version on this channel a few weeks back and gave it a score of 5.5 out of 10. We also delved into the story and history of the character of Dick Tracy, plus the movie this is based on, and also discussed the other versions of the game on other systems. So if you want all that info, then well, please check out that video first. I'm not going to repeat it all here again this time. But in a nutshell, Titus got the movie license rights of the summer 1990 film starring Warren Beatty for the European versions, and this duly appeared on the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, which was infamously bad, Atari ST and Amiga, nearly also as infamously bad, and PC DOS. The Amstrad, of course, got two versions. The GX4000 version we're playing here today is the best of them all, believe it or not, including the 16-bit. However, we're just talking about the Titus European versions. Dick Tracy also appeared on the NES, Game Boy, Sega Genesis and Master System, and all were pretty much better even than the GX4000 version. Anyhow, if you're watching this video in the month and year I put this live, that is September of 2020, then the GX4000 is celebrating its 30th birthday. So we're looking at a lot of GX stuff this month, and whilst I have long played this game before on my channel, we've never reviewed it. Plus the footage is like 480p or something like that, so we're righting that wrong today. So as soon as you boot up the cart, you're presented with this screen. It's kind of nice, and you can choose between music and sound effects before you start the game. And we're going to stick on the music because the sound effects is pathetic, and there's about 2 or 3 sounds in the game. So we'll stick with the music, and the musician here is Christophe Febvre, who became the Titus's main musician for many big releases from 1989 onwards, like Crazy Cars 2, Fire and Forget 2, Titus the Fox and Prehistoric, The Blues Brothers and Wild Streets. And opinion is divided on his music. Some really like it, some find it rather monotonous sounding in terms of the instruments used. I think it's sort of okay, but I don't know. I think for a console in 1990, 1991, I think it probably needs to be a bit better. Anyway, if you saw the Amstrad CPC version, you'll see a huge difference here already. It's almost an entirely new game in terms of how it's been coded, because it now uses the hardware scrolling, hardware sprites and the colour palette available on the GX4000, which the normal CPC didn't have and was like a new addition to the console and the Plus machines, of course. And it all moves rather smoothly. We've got smooth moving sprites, smooth moving backgrounds and bullets and stuff like that, all presumably at a tight 50 frames per second. The only thing that's dodgy so far really is like the animations on the sprites, which is a real shame, because the sprites themselves actually kind of look okay. I mean, Dick Tracy, when he's stood still or ducking down there, that looks okay, but when he moves, yikes, it looks rather amateurish. But we've got a range of weapons as before. You can punch with your fists and change to either a handgun or a Tommy gun, or machine gun I suppose. And it basically, you need to work out what situations warrant using the fists, pistol or a machine gun, and try and conserve your ammo. Enemies that are stood still, not doing anything, they will likely drop a particular gun, and it'll be the same gun every time for the particular enemy. I think the guys in blue there stood still don't drop anything, but they shoot you with a machine gun. So there's ways of easily dealing with them. I'll come on to them in a second. And if you're ducked down, you don't get hit by any bullets at all, even if they'll just pass straight through you if you're being shot from a window. Now the guys in grey, they should always drop a machine gun, so you may want to take them out with the machine gun, because you'll get that pickup and get the full ammo. The guys in grey with the little caps, they will drop a pistol if they're stood still, but if they're walking towards you, they won't drop a gun. So that's how you know what to use and when. But the best thing to do is just try and get the guy just slightly on the edge of the screen before you shoot them. Because you can actually, if you get them about there, you can actually shoot them before they actually notice you're in range or whatever. So you don't get shot and you can get some, you can kill them off pretty quickly. So keep them on the edge right there, like so. And you just found how to beat the game, basically. It's pretty easy. Oh, and there's the boss. All you got to do is shoot him a few times with the machine gun, preferably. And then you can go in and arrest him. And you notice then in the bottom right corner of the screen, the picture has changed from Dick Tracy to one of the villains of the movie. Now, according to the manual, that's supposed to change like to the villain when you get very close to them. That didn't happen on the first level. It changed after we started this level. So presumably that's the guy we just arrested, or we're going to arrest at the end of this level. Who knows? I think that's Prune Face, I think, from the movie and comic books. Not sure. Anyway, so like the Amstrad CPC version, this is a side-scrolling run-and-gun game, which to me has sort of vibes of like RoboCop from 2 or 3 years previous. There's 5 levels, and I think you get about 3 lives. But if you die, you start all the way back at the beginning of the level, so watch out for that. But this game, guys, apart from level 4, is pretty much ridiculously easy. Once you worked out basically how to quickly take out bad guys, it's not too hard. So most of the time the bad guys will just run into your fists, or you can just stand there with your fist blasting away. Easily done. And obviously just like scroll the screen so they're just on the edge of the screen, so they don't notice you're in range, but you can still shoot them. And job done. It's just level 4 with the platforming like on the CPC version, which is a real problem. Although it's not as bad as the CPC version, because that was flick screen or single screen, and which meant some very, very awkward situations resulting from the flick screen. If you watch that video, you'll know what I mean. And yeah, this also feels very similar to Wild Streets from Titus, which was released a few months earlier. That also appeared on a cartridge, the GX4000. But the GX4000 version of Dick Tracy seems to be quite an updated version of that engine, or completely rewritten to use hardware scrolling and hardware sprites. It's just a shame then that a GX4000 game that actually bothers to use the new features of the GX and the Plus is generally kind of poor, really. A lot of people hate this game and think it's rubbish. I'll give you my thoughts later on in the video. But yeah, this is also quite a rare game on the GX4000. Good luck waiting for this to appear on eBay. Oh, we got to the boss here. Slightly different boss sprite this time, that's nice. There you go, and he's given up there. So yeah, this comes up once every 6 months on eBay, roughly. So I've known it not appear for about a couple of years at a time in the past. I just checked my box before making this video, and I still have the printout from eBay inside. I bought this on eBay back in November of 2014. It's like pretty much the last GX4000 game I bought, actually, to complete my collection, not counting Gaza 2 and Chase HQ2. And I paid apparently £110 for this. So this is probably my second most expensive GX4000 game, but it's likely to go for like £200 plus these days, if not maybe even upwards of £300. Ridiculous prices. Oh yes, the boss in the bottom right corner there, I think that's Prune Face. I may be wrong. I see there's a wristwatch there with hands there that don't move. Presumably they may have thought of doing a timer for the levels, which actually would have made more sense and given the game a bit more urgency. and stop me doing this little cheaty method of just sort of scrolling the bad guys onto screen just enough that they don't see you, but I can, and just taking them out. But obviously it's not been implemented, and that's it really. It's a shame because I think the Mega Drive version has various different sort of gameplay types. I think you're in a car, there's a shoot 'em up section, and there's a platforming shooter section as well. I don't know, Dick Tracy driving his car for a couple of levels might have broken things up a bit and made the game more interesting, but alas not. Anyway, let's look at magazine reviews at the time. I'm going to mention that the Speccy and the C64 versions were reviewed in magazines around April of 1991. And bear in mind, the GX4000 came out in September of 1990. But Amstrad Action, which is normally the magazine I look for when looking for reviews, reviewed this in their June 1991 issue 69. Although that may be no indication of release date, because French magazines were reviewing Dick Tracy in around February. So either it was horrendously delayed, coming out nearly a year after the movie disappointed with its box office returns, or I have no idea why Amstrad Action were reviewing it so late. Indeed, AA were reviewing games like Pang the next month in July, yet I've got reports of people buying that in December the previous year, so God knows why AA was so late in getting round to GX4000 games. Presumably publishers dropped the ball in sending them review copies, which would be odd, but it did happen. AA famously never got a review copy of RoboCop, literally the biggest selling 8-bit game of all time probably, so they never reviewed it. They also never reviewed the tape disc version of Dick Tracy. But anyway, they weren't impressed by Dick Tracy on cartridge. They thought it was incredibly frustrating and very tedious, with such poor game design. And I doubt they even got as far as level 4 then, because this would have drove them insane. This is the hardest level in the game because look, if you get hit, you get flung backwards like half a bloody mile. So, and there's rooftops to fall off in between houses and buildings and stuff. So, you got to be very, very careful on this level not to get hit by a bullet when you're too close to the edge of a building. Otherwise, you'll get sent backwards like that. And there's a couple of really sticky situations. This one's a tough one because you've got to immediately judge the bullet and duck. But at least this level does actually present a challenge, unlike the other levels. So anyway, just move very, very carefully here, just utching yourself along little bit by little bit. But back to the Amstrad Action review, they gave the graphics 76%. And they liked the graphics, they just didn't like the animation. That's why the graphics didn't rate higher, and I kind of agree with them. The animation on the sprites are pretty poor, especially poor old Dick there. Sonics, they gave 70%, grab factor 69%, stain power 47%, with an overall AA rating of 52%. And I really can't disagree with them about the poor game design. Some simple tweaks would have improved things. I mean, RoboCop got it right nearly 3 years previous. However, because I'm such a big fan of that RoboCop game and tend to seek out games similar to it, perhaps I'm a little bit more lenient here, as it does give me that little fix of that RoboCop gameplay that I crave. And I'm surprised Titus bothered to do a completely different game to the CPC version, with it using the hardware sprites and scrolling, and of course all those lovely colours there. It does actually look quite nice, especially in still screenshots. But yeah, it's one of the few GX4000 games that uses both the hardware scrolling and hardware sprites, and the increased colour palette with it too. So I'm tempted to give this a 7 out of 10, but actually I find it too easy. Haha, idiot there just walked off the edge of the building. But yeah, it's too easy, it's too short, and feels rather barren, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to adjust my final score for this game as we reach the final level down to a 6.5 out of 10. But if I'd bought this for the rumoured and slightly higher price than normal of £30 back in 1991, remember, normally GX4000 carts were 25 quid, then I'd be a bit miffed and would probably have scored it a lot lower. Right now though, exactly 30 years after the GX4000's launch, I have to be honest, I did find some enjoyment in it, but I would doubt many people would. So let me know what scores you would give it in the comments below. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of 4 out of 10s, I would gather. Don't know if I'm being too lenient or not. Oh, you may have noticed earlier in the video there was an image of a preview article in Amstrad Action I used at the start of the video, and if you look closely it features a digitised picture of one of the bad guys from the movie. But that's missing in the game, and I wonder if more of those ended up going missing to rush this out. And I would assume they were sort of like cutscenes in between the levels to show you which bad guy you were going after. Those little touches might have made the extra difference. Otherwise this game feels rather barren, short and overall a bit rushed. But however, we do get music for each of the levels actually. I mean the tunes themselves are okay, it's just like the sounds of the instruments are a bit monotonous, which is typical of the musician from Titus in a lot of his games. So it might be a bit of a Marmite thing. You either love it or hate it, potentially. But we should be coming to near the end of the level here as we're getting across the bridge. You face off against Big Boy Caprice. Like in the movie, he's in the clock tower across the bridge. And we should be coming into it now here. Just watch your ammunition that you don't run out. It was more important that you use the ammunition in the right places on the previous level, level 4. Yeah, look at the AI there. Uh-oh, might be in trouble there. No. Enemies often just stand... Oh god, the enemies respawn. I forgot about that. So if you move back and scroll the screen back a bit, enemies will respawn in their normal positions. So watch out for that. That could end up draining your ammunition. You need to make sure you do have some saved at the end of this level. There we go. There's a little bit of platforming here of crates and stuff, but it's not really been utilised well. They perhaps could have done more with that in this level and previous levels. I don't know. And remember, if you ducked, bullets will always go through you. Yeah, we're inside the clock tower there. Sadly, those gears are not animated or anything. We're not on the same level as that bad guy, so we can't actually shoot and kill him, so you can just ignore him if you want to. Probably best to. Because there's the boss there. We need to turn around and shoot him really quickly. There you go. And this is Big Boy Caprice. And there you go. And do we get an endgame screen like in the CPC tape disc version? No! The game just loops around to the beginning again. Why is that? There's a legit full finished picture at the end of the game as a completion screen on the tape disc version, but it's completely missing in what's supposedly the big budget release on the GX4000 that you'd paid £30 for. Yikes, that's pretty poor. And yeah, just seeing if we could just like zip through the game here. There's explosion effects there from the bombs being dropped we didn't see earlier because I shot the guy before he could do that. Hardware sprites again, and using the facility there to expand and stretch sprites there to make a bit of an explosion effect. That's one thing you could do with the new hardware sprites. That was quite a cool feature programmers could use. But there you go, guys. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10 from me. And here's the game over tune. What did you think to Dick Tracy on the GX4000? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, more game over music there, which is quite nice. And the screen scrolls all the way back to the beginning. There we go. And the game will start again. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care and goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho out.